Hi, today we will be talking about the US economy of the 1990s. For a brief overview, we'll be talking about the contextualization before the period of the economic boom of the 1990s. And so we start off with the first topic or the first event. The Great Depression, one of the most important economic period of our time. Started in 1929 and ended in 1939. The cause of it was the stock market crash. As we see throughout history, the stock market directly correlates with our economy. As if the stock market is doing well, then so is our economy. If the stock market is doing bad, then our economy is doing bad, right? The cause was also bank failures due to so many people borrowing money from the banks, and this caused the banks to absolutely crash because they were losing so much money and couldn't pay these people. The cause was also government policies, and the effect was the collapse of the money supply and the lowest employment rate. As we see in the cartoon picture on the right, we see two people holding signs saying "Help the unemployed, apples for 5 cents." This cartoon shows great unemployment during this time as people were selling 5-cent apples, showing the great hardships in the economy during this time. Now we go to the Cold War. Uh, this time it was 1947 and it ended in 1991, a competition between the Soviet and the US to gain supremacy. The Truman Doctrine gave aid to countries where their government was being threatened by communism. The Marshall Plan used billions of dollars to prevent the spread of communism for politically unstable countries. Technological advancements in military, such as the hydrogen bomb, the race to the moon, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the split of Vietnam. Many new jobs were created during this time due to new factories and new technological advancements. That is why the economy during this time was pretty good. On the right, we see the last leader of the USSR who announced his resignation in 1991 due to the Soviet breakup. Now we go to the recession of 1990 to 1991. The economic boom of the 1990s had to start with the recession first. As we see throughout history, recessions, we always see recessions before an economic boom. And so this recession started in the 1990s to the early 1991s, right after the longest peacetime expansion. The causes were very different from the recessions in the 1980s. Some include oil prices due to Iraq invading Kuwait, debt accumulators from the 1980s, Federal Reserve trying to slow inflation. Around 1.5 million jobs were lost, 0.5 to 1% of the total workforce, and job losses weren't recovered until February 1993, 23 months later. And we see the Gulf War disrupted oil trade in West Asia, causing oil prices to soar. And now we go to the election of 1992. George Bush seemed tired and out of touch with the new generation. Bill Clinton, however, was a baby boomer and focused on important economic issues during the time. He was a Democrat, a new Democratic, won elections with 370 electoral votes to Bush's 168. We see early accomplishments made by Bill Clinton were Family and Medical Leave Acts allowing people to take paid leaves, the Brady Bill mandating 5-day waiting period for the purchase of handguns, anti-crime bill increasing police spending by $30 billion, and banned sale of most assault rifles. Congress passed a deficit reduction budget including $255 billion in spending cuts and $241 billion in tax increases. We now see the prosperity of the 1990s due to the election of Bill Clinton. defeats and adjustments. Clinton and the New Democrats became less popular with the increased gun control and increased taxes. Bill Clinton believed in taxing the rich and taxing less for the low-income people. That is why rich people sided with the Republican ideals instead of the Democratic ideals. During the midterm elections, Republicans won over both houses in what is called the Republican Revolution, led by Newt Gingrich. They created a contract with America, highlighting a list of policies priorities. To try to counteract this divide, Clinton stated in his 1995 State of the Union speech that the era of big government is over. On the right, we see Bill Clinton at his State of the Union address. Now, Clinton was re-elected. Clinton tried to make Republicans seem as extremist while he was a moderate. He also continued to adopt many of the Republican ideologies, such as the balance of the budget and reforming welfare programs. Due to the fast-growing economy, during his term, 10 million new jobs were created. All these resulted in Clinton being re-elected while Republicans retained control over both of the houses. On the right, we see Bill Clinton about the election of 1996. Now, tax cuts versus Social Security. Due to the 1990s prosperity, the government's surplus revenues was projected to reach $4.6 trillion. Compromises with Congress led to tax cuts on estates and capital gains, tax credit for families with children, and higher education expenses. While Congress pushed for eliminations of taxes such as the estate tax, death tax, and the two-income tax, marriage penalty tax, Clinton held out, stating the surplus was to support Social Security, expand Medicare, and reduce the national debt. Now we go to the economic boom of the 1990s, mostly towards the 1993 to 2000. It was the longest peacetime economic expansion in history, resulted from increased technological innovations. U.S. inflation rate was down, unemployment fell to a 30-year low, and it was ended by 2001 with another recession. Many new technology companies entered the stock market due to a boom in stock prices. Now, technology. Many new technological advances were created during this time, such as the internet, and many devices that used it, which was able to increase the national productivity by 5%. However, cybersecurity began to become a rising threat. Dot-com boom brought in high-tech companies such as Google and more. Growth of the medical field was also abundant with the advancements of diagnostic tools, surgery, and development. Due to the increase in connectivity throughout, it seemed more flat as the number of people devices rose from 0 to $4 billion. The connectivity caused globalization around the world, allowing for development of regional organizations. Steve Jobs announced an iMac on the picture on the right, which could access the internet in 1998. This was a very big accomplishment and a huge technological advancement. We also see these companies such as Google, Apple, Microsoft, and big companies entering the stock market because of the stock market boom, and we see the economy rise. Now, globalization, new cellular networks, regional trade agreements such as the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, were established. The World Trade Organizations, the International Monetary Fund, and the Group of Eight. However, workers and unions resented globalization due to the increase in outsourcing instead of using workers in America, and so it created competition and Yes, so it created compensation because less Americans were getting works and they were outsourcing because it was much cheaper. And on the right, we see Bill Clinton signing the NAFTA Treaty, which created a free trade zone between the United States, Canada, and Mexico into law. Now, employment. During this time, it shifted from industrial to service jobs. Industrial jobs outsourced to developing countries, like I said before. That is why um, the people resented globalization. One consequence of the shift from an industrial to service economy has been outsourcing of manufacturing to developing countries like China. Now, government spending. Total amount of spending in the year of 1991 was $1.1 trillion, and this spending was for salary and wages, and it was also for federal government grants to state and local governments. They funded new projects to increase the economy. Now, how is it affecting us currently? Many large tech companies today were started in this time period. Technology and communications linking all of Earth, and new medical advancements, greater wealth inequality, and increase of free trade. Now, one lasting effect of the economic boom of the 1990s was the growth of the Silicon Valley in California due to many tech companies having their headquarters around that area. All right, now these are our sources. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day or a great night. Thank you.